Welcome back, everybody. We are back. Uh, Even though we all know that the NFC is way more interesting than the AFC this year, we're going to talk about the AFC too,
Yeah.
and provide you with all the correct information about who's going to win and how it's all going to go. So, as always with these podcasts, you're welcome.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just saying. Uh, I said the thing. If
You
you know,
said,
you know.
yeah.
That's all. That's all we'll say about that, I guess.
Yes.
Um, yeah. So let's not waste any time. There's a lot to talk about. I think there's quite a bit
There is.
overall to talk about with this conference. This conference that it not too long ago. It wasn't that long ago when it used to be the opposite. When we used to be like that AFC. It's the Patriots conference,
Yep. Yes, it
and
was.
there's the whole battle on the NFC side between the Rodgers and the Breeze and the whatnots. Um, but it ain't like that no more. Now it's a transformed NFC and a transformed AFC. A lot of big names have moved around. A lot of big names have retired. A lot of big names have been drafted and developed. So it seems like, this is the year where maybe we're going to get a lot of answers about who's him and who's not.
Yep. You're
Um,
you're right about that.
yeah, yeah. So I figured we'll start again with the North.
Oh
Um,
boy.
yeah, I know. We're gonna have to talk about. There's a couple divisions here. We got to start with one of them, and I don't want to start off with a softball. I want to softball the AFC South to be somewhere in the middle.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so the North is fascinating because it's always an ultra competitive division every year. And there used to be a time when the Browns were, used to just not be part of the equation. Now
Right.
they are a part of the equation on some level.
I guess so.
Yeah. Um, and the Bengals used to not be so good, and now they're very much in the conversation. And then you have the Ravens and the Steelers, who literally have two of the best head coaches in the entire NFL that have just managed to maintain a ridiculous amount of consistency and winning culture in their organizations, um, where they just doesn't seem like they ever have a bad team.
And I don't think that changes this year
No, no, it seems
because
unlikely.
they're both better than they
Indeed,
were last year.
indeed, and yeah, that's where this division gets interesting because this is really a division where, in theory, with the total number of plausible outcomes, any one of these teams, I think, could find themselves at the top of this division. I think it's possible.
Yep.
Now, of course, the biggest question mark is Deshaun Watsoning,
Hmm.
I mean, like in football terms,
Right.
not the other stuff that he does a lot.
Yeah. A lot. A lot.
I saw the number of times, and I thought it was a lot. So I'm glad to hear that you think it's a lot too.
It is. It's like a football score.
It's like a decent football score, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Guess that's why they call it offensive.
God damn it. um. Oh boy.
Anyway, but yeah, he used to be good on the Texans, but the Texans were bad, so it was like, so he got traded to the Browns as an upgrade naturally,
Yeah.
and got paid a lot of money, which is why it's like people, it's the easy route here would be to say, oh well, the Browns are the Browns. We don't have to talk about the Browns because they're the Browns, but kind of like with the Broncos, they paid that bastard a fuck ton of money.
So much money, guaranteed money too.
And not just to be good on the football team, to win playoff games.
Yep.
And of course, ultimately win a Super Bowl, because that's the point of all of this. So, like, that's the bar. Whether you think it's attainable or not is another question. But that's the standard that the Browns have to be held to this year. We can't just dismiss them, which I am dismissing them because I don't think they're going to be able to compete in this AFC or in this AFC North.
Yeah.
In the end, I just find that unlikely compared to the strength of these other teams. Push that comes to shove, no matter how good the Browns are, they have to be better than those other teams, and it's just tough division to be in. But they've added some pieces. They've gotten better. Got Elijah Moore, who's supposed to be good.
Yep. Seems like Deshaun
Um,
likes him a lot.
yeah, seems
Just
like they're going to use him in a lot of different looks. Cedric Tillman should be good. DPJ has been a good deep threat for them. Obviously, they have Amari Cooper, who's one of the best route runners in the NFL. Um, imagine that's still the case. Don't really see why we would say that he's not.
yep.
Um, which route running is pretty important with the whole NFL thing. Nick Chubb, people are like, "Oh, Kareem's gone." It's like, yeah, but they never needed Kareem in the first place. Let's be wrong.
No,
Let's just be honest here for a second. It was ridiculous that they were both there, and they very much depended on them for that offense to work, and it kind of did.
Yes.
Baker won a playoff game, um, but yeah, defense. And I mean, the reality is that the Browns' defense might be the best defense in that division.
Yep.
It's possible.
It is possible. It is
And
definitely possible.
that's tough. Defense wins championships. Can't take that for granted, but still, in this division, it's really tough to see them fighting their way into a playoff berth unless something goes terribly wrong with these other teams, which looks like maybe something already has segue to one of these teams, which is the presumptive division winners, the Bengals,
Yep.
have befallen the worst of tragedies that they could have possibly faced, which is that Joe Burrow is hurt and he
Is
might
hurt.
miss some of the regular season.
Jamar Chase told him to sit until week 5. I
Yeah.
think that's what he told him.
I don't know if it meant week 5 or 5 weeks or what the fuck, but I mean,
True.
Zach Taylor has been like shifty but not optimistic about his timeline, I feel like.
Yep.
Um, very much seems to indicate that he'll be out for presumably maybe I don't know if it's week 5 because I think they're talking about like their bye I think is early. I
Yeah.
want to say
I think it is.
so. I think that's the idea. Kind of like the Cowboys did, I guess, last year with Dak. Um, but hopefully, he gets healthier earlier than that. But I mean, that's the reality is, as I was looking at this division in this conference and had to make hard decisions about which teams I think are going to make the playoffs, which teams are not going to make the playoffs. I mean, there's a lot of talent on that offense, but the quarterback is the most important position.
Yep.
And there's no guarantee that Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd and Joe Mixon and Zach Taylor, the head coach and play caller, can pick up the slack with whoever the fuck their backup is.
Kyle Allen? Or am I just
I don't
crazy?
think it's Kyle Allen. I think Kyle Allen's on the what team is Kyle Allen on? Is it? I don't. Well, yeah, we
It's
should be.
Jake Browning. It's Jake
That's
Browning. So
so.
yeah.
They're
Yeah.
Jake Browning. Yeah. So you're asking for. I don't think their schedule is terribly hard to start off the year. I could be wrong, but
No.
regardless,
I
yeah.
I pulled it up, and if it's 5 weeks, here's the thing: is like there's some stuff in here that's not awful. I don't think,
Mm-hmm.
but the problem is week 1 and week 2 is Browns Ravens. That's if
That
you
could be
lose
two
those two
L's easy.
games, that could be your whole year. I mean, that's what it
Yeah,
could come down to
that's a
is
good
that you
point.
didn't have Burrow in those 2 games. And then they have the Rams, the
No
Titans,
way
and the
they beat
Bengals.
Lamar without Burrow. There's just 0%
No,
chance.
no.
They barely beat Tyler Huntley without
Yep,
Lamar with Joe Burrow. So
exactly.
yeah. If you guys forgot that happened, that was what happened like the last playoffs. That's what happened. So they
Yep,
barely beat Tyler Huntley. So
barely.
they barely beat Ryan Tannehill.
Yep.
Yada yada yada. But whatever. Love the Bengals. Who they nation. Whatever. Yeah. So that's the reality. Is like if it's going to come down to like 2 games and it's division games. I'm sorry, but there are a lot of teams in this AFC that are competitive, that have great defenses and high powered offenses that can take those spots, including multiple teams in their own division. Um,
Yes. All of the other
and
teams
that's
possibly in their
and
division.
it's just the reality is that one of these, two plus maybe three of these teams that I look at and I'm like, oh, these could be playoff teams in the NFC right now, are
Yep.
just not going to be in the playoffs, which is absurd, but it's going to happen. And unfortunately, I this is an easy out of as far as saying, okay, if they lose 2-3 games that they shouldn't be losing otherwise, that's it.
Yep.
Uh, but then what are these other teams that are going to be taking these spots? And that leaves us with the Steelers and the Ravens. And like, how do you bet against the Steelers?
You can't.
Eh, Like last year, they should have been bad. They
Yeah.
should have had a losing record. There's no reason that they didn't have a losing record, except for the fact that it's impossible for it to happen.
Yes.
Um, and they're better
They're they are better in
in
like
every way.
every way. I mean, Kenny Pickett was good last year. It the whole time. I mean, he was very solid. He's gonna get better. He's getting another year under his belt. It
Seems like
seems
he
like
has great chemistry with his receivers,
it
like
does.
great chemistry,
And
and you could see it last year.
speaking of another year two guy, I mean, we got George Pickens, who
Yeah,
everybody on the planet knows about now. I mean, he makes the most incredible catches you've ever seen. People talk about
I
like,
heard
oh,
he's
he
more
doesn't
talented
get
than Justin
separation. Who
Jefferson.
cares if he catches it? Um, but anyway, the
Yeah,
I mean, he's getting another year. Deontay's there. Deontay is one of the
Booth.
highest targeted receivers in the league, for
Yep,
years now. People forget that too. Muth going into year two. They
Booth is
added
good.
Darnell Washington, who, maybe nothing, but I
Calvin
hear a
Austin,
lot of
insane
interesting
speed.
things about him. I mean, he's what, like 6'7" or something as well.
Yeah, he's a freak.
Just huge, and if there's any offense that he would succeed in, it's gonna be, you know, the
Yep.
one under Mike Tomlin. So
They
there's a
just have
lot
a
to
different
like.
standard. They just have a different baseline standard than maybe any other NFL team in the entire league. And yeah, they are building on what they had last year in every way. Only question mark still is the play calling from Matt Canada and that offense. Just seems a little funky. But we'll see. We'll
Yep.
see. Obviously, I think sometimes it's easy just to discount how much people can learn from year to year because they do just look at last year's tape and see what worked and see what didn't. And I'm hoping that maybe things look a little bit better, and I think they will.
I I
So
agree. Well, they took Broderick Jones in the first to help, protect
mm,
their quarterback, which that should be good. And then they got Joey Porter
yep,
in the second, which
insane
is
hometown
just
boy.
ridiculous. They go Darnell. I mean, there's a lot to like.
One of the
The,
best drafts maybe that anybody had last year. Some
yep.
people were saying perfect draft.
Yep.
So yeah, and it seems like they're okay with not having Chase Claypool on their team. Somehow they'll manage.
Hmm. I wonder how.
Yeah,
I
somehow
heard he's
they'll
like really
figure it
good.
out.
He's like worth a second round pick or something.
mm,
So
Mapletron, baby.
it's
Mapletron in the Windy City. Uh,
God damn it. They're gonna be good. I don't think there's really any way, unless something freaky happens, that they lose, any more games than they did last year.
yep, it's just no point. No point in betting against the Steelers, and I think unlike last year, they will be on. I think they'll be on the bubble to eke in a playoff spot. I think they're going to be might end up being on the outside looking in, but I think they might be right there. It's
Yep.
possible. Um, and that leaves the team that I think is going to win this division, which is the Ravens.
Yep.
Um, because I personally think that Lamar Jackson is quite good at football. Uh, and I don't project injuries when I project successive teams. I deal with the injuries that already exist, like Burrows. But assuming Lamar is healthy, like what the fuck is not to like here?
Nothing. I mean, they
Like
it's a
it's like
tenfold improvement over last year, and they were a playoff team last year and went far with Tyler Huntley.
it's just again, Harbaugh is just one of those guys who knows how to maintain a standard and to get MFs into shape. Now, I've heard other things about other members of the organization that aren't so positive, like the training staff.
Mm.
But you know, whatever. Um, but yeah, the Ravens, they inked that big deal with Lamar. Say this is our guy, which of course they should have done. And you get him for the first time in his time in Baltimore. You get him some weapons.
First time ever.
First time ever. You get some damn weapons. It's Lamar and Rogers first. Again to finally play. I mean, Rogers had Devontae, so he had a weapon. But again, like true number one alpha receiver potentially in Odell, depending on how much juice he has left. But usually when he's on the field, he looks pretty fucking good.
Yep. I'd say
Uh,
Flowers is a good prospect.
Yep,
Good
he'll
spot
be
for him.
productive as a rookie, no doubt. They're going to get him. I mean, what are we saying? The number one target on that offense is Mark Andrews, and I mean,
Now we'll, maybe have some room to breathe because
yep,
defenses are going to have to respect more than just him in the air
yep.
for the
So
first time in a long time.
yeah, and I mean, that offense obviously has gotten by, in much of the same way that the Chiefs have gotten by with Kelsey, where it's like if you have a really really elite tight end like Kelsey or Andrews, which I mean Kelsey's better than Andrews, but still,
Yep.
um, I mean you can get by. But man, is it going to be a different look? Everybody's talked about the new offensive coordinator Tom Munkin and how he's going to be more pass heavy and really unlock Lamar's ability with the ball in the air. You're spreading the ball around Odell, Zay Flowers, uh, Mark Andrews, Rashad Bateman if he's healthy,
Yep.
and then once of course they ink that big extension for J.K. Dobbins that he's been holding out for.
Right.
Nothing holding them back.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. But I mean, Dobbins is, so removed now from his injury too. He is probably going to eat this year, and
Oh, I'm sure.
there's just
Once
so
he's on the
much.
field.
There's so much to like on that team. Like we said earlier, there's not much to not like.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand like fading Lamar Jackson, fading the Ravens because of the injuries. I get it, but when we watch Lamar Jackson play football and he's healthy, he is one of the most electrifying players, one of just players period that can be on a football field. Like it's just what like super weapon. You know what I mean? Like just so it's just hard to bet against it. And yeah, again, they get to play the Bengals without Burrow potentially.
Yep. Week 2.
Easy, easy win. It'll be maybe fun to watch if Deshaun Watson gets back to form. It'd be cool to watch those two people maybe go at it. Uh, but yeah, it seems like it's the Ravens' division to lose as far as I'm concerned. That defense should be good. I haven't talked about it as much, but it's a good defense.
Yep.
Always seems to be a good defense. Yeah. So my order for the division is kind of the reverse order that we talked about them in. It's Ravens, Steelers, Bengals, Browns.
That's how I have it too. And I mean, I could see the Bengals, finishing out better than the Steelers depending on what's up
Mm-hmm.
with Burrow, but we just don't know.
Yep.
And they've given us no reason to have any optimism toward it, so that's
Yes.
how I will proceed until we're
And
otherwise.
yep. And yeah, I do really feel like there is a full range of the full range of outcomes for this division is that any one of these teams could again win the division. I think it's possible. Um, but in the end, you do have to rank them by how likely it seems. And the Ravens just seem to have the steadiest and most powerful ship
Yep.
in the sea at the moment. Yeah. So let's do AFC South. Let's do the softball. This division fucking sucks,
It does.
except for maybe two teams.
Maybe.
And I would say really just one team is good. Like,
Yes.
and that team could be very good.
Yep.
We're of course talking about the Colts. Um,
Oh man.
no. It's Trevor Lawrence, T Law, the guy himself, with maybe top 5 wide receiver duo in the NFL.
It's
Top 10
it's
for sure.
yep. It's up there.
It's up there. Could produce that way. This may be the better way to say it.
I think it will. I I I don't know. There's no reason to honestly think that it wouldn't. I mean, I know Calvin Ridley. It's the big story. He's been out of football for a year, but he stayed in shape, and the bits and pieces we've seen of him in the preseason. I mean, it's the preseason, yes, but like he did not forget how to play football.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. And yeah, obviously one of the best wide receivers in the league before everything got all fucky wucky. And here's the thing: Trevor Lawrence has not come even close to playing his best ball.
Yep.
Now I understand we're just looking at next year, but I think there's a good reason to think that the next logical leap for him under good coaching from Doug Peterson, is maybe being as good as maybe in the conversation as being as good as any quarterback in that conference.
Yep.
And I think most people would agree that seems like his general trajectory. That's why he was drafted when he was drafted. That's why people were talking about him the way they were talking about him. It's the way people were talking about Andrew Luck in the same way, and then he ended up being that as well. Just generational talent. So, and he's got all the weapons around him. Defense is solid. Doug Peterson's been to a Super Bowl, won one.
Yep. Sure has. Only seemingly isn't the coach in Philly because he didn't like Carson Wentz. So, and
Man,
look how that's ended up.
I mean, win-win, I guess, right?
Exactly.
Doug Peterson's got the best quarterback he's ever had, and and Carson Wentz is unemployed.
Yep.
Uh,
Yes, he is.
he's releasing really strange photos and videos to try and woo NFL people into hiring him as a backup.
Yeah.
Whatever,
Oh, thanks.
no thanks. Um, just trade for DTR.
Yeah.
Which we I guess we get. DTR is awesome. We've been watching the preseason. Man,
Yep.
should be starting. Bengals should be trading for DTR right now.
Yeah, for real.
Get him for the just plug him in first 3 weeks. I
You
don't know
didn't
if that's
imagine
actually
there's
what I'd see.
no way Cleveland would ever do that.
No, absolutely
But
not.
you're right though. They
A
should.
lot of teams maybe should be inquiring potentially. I mean, it's a really easy return on investment for the Browns, uh,
Yeah.
potentially. But anyway, um, yeah, it just seems like the Jaguars are the only team in this division that really have that like superpower potential. That's kind of going to be necessary to compete in this conference. And yeah, uh, high on the Jaguars.
Yep.
Not a lot of reason not to be unless Trevor Lawrence just doesn't progress as much as he should. And
Even even if he doesn't, they're probably
they'll
still
still
going to win the
be in the
division.
conversation. Yeah, oh yeah, I would agree. Yeah, so yeah, just the addition of Calvin Ridley is so massive. You sign Evan Ingram to that extension. Yeah, Travis Etienne. Didn't talk about him yet, but he's good,
Yep.
undeniably. So young team could be good for a long time.
Really young team.
Pretty impressive when you think about how the Jaguars were drafting top of the draft last few years.
Everybody was clowning him for signing Kirk to all that money, and then he balls out
He
and
balls
showed
out.
that he was worth it, I guess, which was hard
He
for me
right.
to believe. I
I
mean,
didn't believe it
we
was going to happen
hadn't seen
either
anything for him to get that money, and then I mean, he goes there and does his thing. So
because Arizona fucking sucks.
yes, they do. Well, and now
Fucking,
he's got some help with Ridley taking the attention off of him. Ingram, everybody is on alert. He's not just some washed up tight end that's on his last leg
nope,
in
not
Jacksonville.
even close. Not even
And
close.
yeah, I think they're gonna score a lot of points.
I would say so. Um, all right, now talk about all the teams that are clawing for hope at the moment. Um, Other team I kind of alluded to potentially being decent are the Titans.
Yep.
Say that only because the Titans just, I mean, realistically, they haven't actually been like bad anytime in recent memory. Um, they've just managed under Vrabel to keep things afloat in a similar way to like this. I mean, it hasn't been for as long, but the Steelers and the Ravens.
Yep.
They have Ryan Tannehill. He's not a bad quarterback.
No.
He's fine. He's
It's
perfectly
fine.
acceptable. At times, he's managed to be quite good, and has more weapons this year too.
Yep.
Got some help.
I mean, Traylon Burks just got hurt, like 2 days ago, which is unfortunate, but it seems like he's not going to
Yeah.
be held out for too long.
Nope.
And he's going into year two, and I liked him as a prospect, and he got better, and I think he'll just continue to get better this year when the time comes. And
It's a prove a year of sorts for him. He kind of needs to break out a little bit. Needs to stay healthy because that was a big thing in his rookie year was not being able to stay healthy, and then
yep,
actually being able to take advantage of all the gifts that he has
yep,
physically. But yeah, if he's good, if he breaks out, if yeah, I mean, I personally believe that DeAndre Hopkins is a very good wide receiver, even at the ancient age of whatever 31.
and I mean
Uh,
Derrick Henry shows no signs of slowing, so that'll probably be enough to keep him around 500, and that might be enough for second in this division. First, if something goes crazy, who knows?
yes.
So what's kind of crazy
Um,
about it?
don't really need to talk about shit like anything Malik Willis, Will Levis related because that's not really a concern this year.
No, it's
Don't
not.
expect either of them to really see the field unless Ryan Tannehill and Kyle Shanahan terms melts. Um,
Yes.
so yeah. Uh, so Titans, they have a decent defense. It seems to perform above their pay grade every year.
Yep.
And they drafted a very good offensive lineman in the first round of the draft this year to help that offensive line. We didn't talk about Chiga Conquo yet.
Oh yeah,
He's pretty good.
it's pretty good.
So there's reasons to believe that the Titans will be in the mix, maybe in a similar sense to the Steelers, where they don't quite implode. I mean, a big issue with the Titans last year was injuries across the board. So imagine they stay healthy. Again, they can just be one of those scrappy teams tries to squeeze their way into a wild card spot. But I don't I don't necessarily see that happening with the competition and
Yep.
the other divisions.
Nope. It's not like last year. It's not like any year in a long time in the AFC. It's like that 8-9, 9-8's not going to be enough this year.
Mm-mm. Please argue in the comments below who is better, Kenny Pickett or Ryan Tannehill. That seems like a good question.
Yes. Oh man.
uh,
Wow. Huh.
which quarterback can get their team further along? I mean, the evidence would say Ryan Tannehill,
It would.
first seed in the AFC not too long ago.
I I remember.
But then I also remember the divisional playoff game against the
Oh
Bengals.
boy, do I remember.
So anyway, we don't have to talk about the Titans anymore, because I don't really want to. TBH. We have two really fun teams at the bottom here. I don't really care which one we talk about first. Let's talk about the Colts, I guess. So until last year, till this offseason, the Colts were in competition mode.
For
They were
so
trying to
long.
compete. They've been trying to compete for a Super Bowl for a long time.
I mean, since Andrew Luck was the starter. So,
And yes, and of course everybody's talked about the whole implosion post Luck, where not really, it's just like this slow stretching out of something that's just it's gone. And maybe some things could have gone differently, like Philip Rivers could have won that playoff game, and there's no question that you bring him back the next year, and then maybe you go on a run again, and things are completely different in the organization. But it's not what happened.
It's not what happened.
And then you have again, you lose to the Jaguars in the last week of the regular season away when they're the worst team in football, and it's a win and in with Carson Wentz, and you just can't pull it off. Can't be rookie year Trevor Lawrence with Urban Meyer, or not Urban. Was Urban Meyer fired by then?
Maybe. I don't remember.
But you get beat
He
by your
probably
division
was.
rival. Yeah, he probably was, but the stank.
Yep.
And again, you just barely missed the playoffs. You were one of those teams. The Colts were one of those teams that nobody wanted to play against. A good team.
Yep.
Jonathan Taylor playing well. Doesn't happen. And then you're on your last fucking leg with Matt Ryan, and it just collapsed. And
I
it's a
mean,
different team now.
Ryan is just absolute dog shit for them too. Just like nobody was expecting him to be
Nope.
bad. I mean,
Nope.
they
And
were
the offensive line played horribly, and Jonathan Taylor was not as efficient, and also was hurt. And yeah, who knows if he's going to play for them this year?
not me.
It doesn't seem like him being traded is going to happen. I don't think that's a realistic expectation.
No.
But that does seem to be what he wants still. And so you might not have your best player on the field. You have a rookie quarterback who just needs reps. Nobody's expecting him to get them into the playoffs this year. Nobody should.
Nope.
But the potential is there in a few years that team, the Colts could absolutely be competitive again. But it doesn't seem like you can really see the pieces fully in what you see right now.
No.
Not entirely. I mean, they extend Michael Pittman. Yeah, Alec Pierce continues to be good. Josh Downs is a beast. Jonathan Taylor, I mean, that seems like that relationship is destroyed. So again, I don't know what they're going to do at running back.
Kenyon Drake, baby.
Yeah, it's Kenyon's time to bounce back, I guess. Sign Kareem Hunt, maybe.
Yep.
Learn from
They
it.
they let him leave. So
They did.
I don't know, $6 million or whatever. I guess is too much for them.
It's going to be a Viking.
Maybe.
Probably not. But man can dream. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know how. I think it's just as a Colt, you have to be excited for the new pieces that are there, the new head coach, new quarterback, new stuff. Hope that you get a new face of the franchise in Anthony Richardson, and
Mhm.
hope in a few years maybe you're competitive.
Yep. That's all you can do. Can't get your hopes up too high.
Might be Colts could be a fun team if Anthony Richardson ends up having some like wow performances week to week. It might be fun to see if the Colts are just one of those teams that can like fuck a division rival over one week. Fuck it, maybe miraculously beat the Jaguars one time, split with them, split with the Titans. Spoil somebody's season
Yep.
in some way. But otherwise, I think it's going to be a tough battle.
And I
Uh,
think that kind of a play spoilers is their absolute ceiling.
mhm. You lose Stephon Gilmore,
Yeah,
like
yeah, they did.
it's a big deal.
They
It's a
sure
big
did.
deal. Um,
Big deal.
yeah, yeah. Losing Gakwe, all those guys. So yeah, Colts. Good luck.
Yep.
And then Texans.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Well, they're they're in the thick of it. That much I know.
Oh, they really are. When we think of like teams that have been rebuilding, this is what snapshot mid rebuild looks like.
Yep.
You've got some really solid pieces on defense. got a brand new rookie quarterback, second overall. Promising young running back. Some really impressive pieces, obviously on the offensive line. Some big names.
Yep. I mean, they trade back up to 3 to get Will Anderson. That was like a great move. Everybody's like, "Wow, the Texans won the draft." I mean, I don't think they did,
Yep.
but that was a good
Nope.
move if it pays off. I think it probably will. And I
They,
Tank Dell's lighting it up in the preseason,
yeah,
which is wild.
it is.
But they're gonna suck.
They will
That's what
they
I
will
think.
suck. I think they will also probably suck. Um, I've talked about this before, but if CJ Stroud doesn't work out and Justin Fields does not work out, you can never draft another Ohio State quarterback in the top 5 ever again.
No, you can't.
It will never. It will not happen.
Nope, and it shouldn't.
And it shouldn't. And there, yes, it is. I mean by that as in it would be foolish to do it
Yep.
because man, it's never worked.
No, it hasn't. Never. I mean,
So
we were literally
yeah,
talking, before the draft and all that shit. Like, CJ Stroud looks like he could, potentially be one of the best quarterback in this class, right? But
yep,
we're also all sitting here saying, but he went to OSU. I mean, it's
it's just
literally a just something that comes up in conversation with these
every time,
quarterbacks
every time.
because it does not seem to bode well for them.
Yeah, which frustrating. I'm sure for maybe all parties. And I no reason. I have nothing against CJ Stroud except for the fact that he went to OSU. So I'm not
Yep.
really rooting against him. I kind of hope that even just for Texans fans' sake, I guess they. I don't know. It's like you get rid of Deshaun Watson, you deserve something, right? Yeah. Not like the actual people in the organization. Those people suck. But like the fans, and whatnot.
I think they
Yeah.
got what they deserved in Davis Mills personally, but
that's fair. I think you're probably right. I guess there's part of me that wants to see that team that defense be paired with a decent offense. I think their weapons suck. I think they're. It's embarrassing that they're going into the season with these weapons for a rookie quarterback.
you
That's
got to
how I
get them
feel.
some help. You got to
It's
get them some
pathetic.
help.
It's frustrating. I Tank Dell could be very very good player. He is a little undersized, but it seems like he's been running some nice routes and is a fast player and good hands. So
Even
they build
him,
that chemistry. It could
he
work.
needs some help.
He needs some help
Tank
too.
Dell is not gonna be, the piece of the Texans offense that puts it all together. Even if he's
I
really
don't think so.
good, he needs some help. Any number one, receiver on any team needs some help, and if he's really your number one, I mean, you're in pretty dire straits anyway. But
Yeah, I just if if you're going to get a veteran to help out your rookie quarterback to develop some confidence, I just don't think Robert Woods would be the top of my list. And no, and nothing really against Robert Woods. He's had his years, but just not what I would be putting my stock in. And they're, I mean, I don't know, man. Like, imagine even just like a Jacoby Myers on that team,
literally,
somebody consistent, somebody can get open.
and they could have even just signed one of those receivers to a 1 year deal.
1 year deal. I don't know.
Pay him
Just
10 million, 12 million, overpay a guy a couple $1 million just to get a veteran presence in there for all these young receivers that the team has that they seem to like, which I mean every team is going to say they like their young guys.
yeah.
But Robert Woods, like you said, nothing against him. He's a good player, was, maybe still is. Um our indications point to maybe not, but
Hmm.
they need something better
The
than that.
ver- the closest thing that they did, really the true closest thing that they did to this was Dalton Schultz,
Yes.
which is something. It's not nothing. Dalton Schultz is a good player, but
Solid. Can catch the
solid.
ball.
He can catch the ball, but again, that's what you're putting your stock in for your rookie quarterback you drafted second overall, so that he can feed Dalton Schultz.
And Dalton Schultz is not a Travis Kelsey, Mark Andrews situation here. Not even close, never will be.
Mm-mm.
Like, nothing against Schultz either
Like if they
necessarily,
got,
but Lord have
yeah,
mercy.
like if they had wound up with Waller, different story.
Yep.
But nope.
I mean, and
Yeah,
Schultz, had a good year with Dallas. Like he was a good player for Dallas, but it's like one decent year in a year where the only threat to throw the ball to besides him was CeeDee Lamb. I mean,
yep,
Michael Gallup was nothing, right? So every other receiver on our team last year was kind of whatever. So it's like that's where the targets are gonna go, and he had one good year, and he got his bag or whatever, and stayed in Texas, and I hope he does well, but it's not enough.
nope,
And
definitely not.
he doesn't have the evidence to point to it being enough either.
Nope. Yeah, so I don't. Texans, I think, are going to struggle. I think they have some good pieces. Again, that defense is strong. Like it's a good defense, I think. And
Yes,
D'Amico Ryans is obviously
it was a good defense
defensive
last year.
guru. It was, and D'Amico Ryans was maybe the best defensive coordinator in the NFL last year.
Yep.
So yeah, it's exciting. I think if you're a Texans fan, this probably has to feel better than what you've been getting. Again, sorry, Davis Mills, but I don't imagine the Texans would be very excited to have Davis Mills be their starting quarterback again, unless they're looking down the barrel of like Caleb Williams. Uh, so yeah, good luck to the Texans. I I think they could also, if CJ Stroud has a good start, I think they could also be their ceiling would be a disruptor team to just like fuck over somebody's season. But again, that's ceiling, I would
Yeah,
say.
and I mean, comparing them to the Colts, there's just so much more to like.
They don't even have a Michael Pittman in Houston. They don't have a Michael Pittman Jr. They don't have even a Josh. Maybe Tank Dell is a Josh Downs. Who knows? But Josh Downs is their like wide receiver 4.
Yep,
So
exactly.
yeah. Anyway, again, AFC South. I have a Jaguars, Titans, Colts, Texans. That's what I think is gonna happen.
Yeah, I mean, I've got it the same way,
Yeah, I don't
and
know.
I feel like the gap between the Jags and everybody else could be big. That's the thing, though. This year, it
Yes,
really could be.
I think that's pretty likely. It's hard to imagine the Colts or the Texans putting up a strong fight against the Jaguars, but
Yep.
or any fight. But yeah, I
Yes.
guess again, stranger things have happened. Okay, let's do the AFC West. I feel like we should save the AFC East for last.
That's what I was thinking.
Uh, AFC West. I don't know where to start here. Let's start with the talk of the town, Denver Broncos. A team that isn't necessarily like a huge market team, but has found a way to shall we say remain relevant
Yeah.
in their own way. And I don't fucking know what to do with this stupid fucking team. Just pisses me off. They pissed me off last year because I thought Russ was going to be good, and I was made a
They
fool.
did, and
I was made a fool
wow.
publicly, right? Because that man was not good. He was bad. Wasn't okay. He was bad. He was better once his head coach left,
Yep.
which is the most optimism that Denver Broncos fans had going into the offseason until Sean Payton got hired.
Which is a good hire. It's a
It
good
was a
hire.
good
It's a great
hire.
hire.
Yeah.
And
I mean, fuck that guy, but yeah.
yes, yeah, absolutely. He's won a
Yeah,
Super
good.
Bowl.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
a guy that can
Yeah.
whip some guys into shape that clearly need it. Maybe.
Boy, does he love violence against players.
Yes, he does. Yes,
All
he
shapes and sizes.
absolutely. I just can't imagine him and Russell Wilson. Just like I just can't even picture it. I don't know what their conversations would even be like. It's
I
just so
imagine they
funny to
don't
me.
talk very much. I don't think they talk very much. I think they only talk when they need to. And yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? Is like on the one hand, like maybe a big reason why Hackett sucked was because he just didn't have the personality to and the confidence to get Russ to give Russ what he needed rather than what he wanted. Um, and then there's this idea that Sean Payton will come in and he'll say like, yeah, fuck all the random Russ bullshit. He's gonna do shit my way, which is great. But then you still have to deal with the personality that is Russell Wilson,
Yep.
and those personalities are going. I just like you're saying. I don't. They don't seem like they would meld very well together.
I mean, I think
Um,
about all the stories I remember hearing, the rest of his time in Seattle where wasn't he like neighbors with Pete Carroll? Didn't they literally live like right next to each other or something?
yeah.
Like same neighborhood. I mean, they were best buddies and I mean, I think any quarterback's got to be pretty tight with their head coach or
Oh,
offensive coordinator, but this could just be absolutely nothing. I mean, we'll see.
yeah. And I mean, Russ, I think probably has some similar size to Drew Brees, but is not the same type of quarterback at all.
Nope.
So very different types of quarterback. So it's not abundantly like clear exactly how Sean Payton's system is going to meld even with Russ's skill set.
Yep.
We don't really know exactly how that's going to work. So there's a lot of questions.
I mean, question Jerry Judy, who is he? Like, is he
Yeah,
good is he?
is he a number one, a number two, a number three? Like he really has not. He's shown flashes, but not the consistency that he was drafted for in the first round.
Cortland Sutton's getting old. They
Yeah,
lost all their other guys that they liked at receiver
uh,
to what ACLs and Achilles injuries a couple of weeks ago.
if I'm Cortland Sutton, I want to get the fuck out of there.
Yeah, for
Like,
real.
give me a trade. Like, give me to the Chiefs. I mean, that would never happen, but to some other fucking team that doesn't have all this bullshit attached to it at quarterback and the coaching staff. I don't know.
Yep.
I can imagine he's done, but and then draft Marvin Mims. Marvin Mims, exciting player. Maybe we'll see how much he ends up producing this year. Obviously, some very sad injuries in the wide receiver room from Tim Patrick,
Yep.
KJ Hamler.
He's got
So
an opportunity, possibly.
it's got the path, you know. Um,
Javante, they seem to be really
Javante,
high on Javante.
it seems like they think he's going to be back to 100% at miraculously, truly miraculously. I don't even really understand how that's possible, but like a number of impossible things have already happened with Javante that I have no choice but to, I guess, accept
Yep.
the next sequence of them until we're proven otherwise. And yeah, you get P Ryan there just as kind of a change of pace back.
A good RB2. I mean,
Yeah,
he was in Cincy. I think he still will be, but
yeah,
relying on him as RB1 if Javante's not like all good, that's going to be suspicious.
not ideal.
Nope. I
Don't
mean,
have Latavius Murray anymore.
nope.
Don't have Melvin Gordon anymore.
Piran's never rushed for 100 yards in a game, I'm pretty sure. You know, I
Yeah,
mean, granted, he was behind Mixon, but there were times where Mixon was hurt and he still wasn't.
yeah, he's been in the league a while now.
Yep.
So yeah, yeah. I unfortunately I cannot convince myself to be overly high on the Broncos until I actually see it happen.
Yep. It's just so funny because
Because
it's like the opposite of last year, where
yes,
like
exactly.
everybody was expecting them to be good and they were absolutely horrible.
Yes.
And
So yeah,
I feel the same way. I'm not gonna believe it till I see it. I mean, Russ looked truly awful last year, all year.
dude was not seeing the field. Like it
No.
was like he's playing football for the first fucking time. It was truly a moment in NFL history, like of just what the fuck happened. And so yeah, we'll have to see. We unfortunately will have to see Russell Wilson play football again in a good way. Like, we'll see him know how to play football again in order to believe it. Unfortunately,
And I mean, I'm just gonna say that Russell Wilson is the same age as Matthew Stafford and Kirk Cousins and Ryan Tannehill. So
elite company.
how how do you Kirk Cousins has not forgotten how to play football.
No,
I don't even Ryan Tannehill has not forgotten how to play football.
no.
And Matthew Stafford, we don't really know what's up with him so much either.
But
but
he hasn't forgotten how
he
to
has
play
not forgotten
football.
how to play football. It was
No,
never his issue. Where Russ
Ru-
seems like he
yeah,
forgot.
seems like a few things might have slipped his mind. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's fascinating. So, not ready to crown them as competitors just because of Sean Payton yet. Gonna need to see it. Defense is good though. Defense should still be good.
Yep. It
Defense
should
should
be.
still can potentially keep them in games.
We've been saying that about a lot of these teams, though, that aren't that good. You know,
AFC's got a lot of good defenses.
they do. They
A lot
do.
of good offenses too. It's kind of fucked up.
Yep.
Um, Raiders
Jimmy.
now
Jimmy.
now. Hmm, I I don't know what to say about the Raiders either. Raiders are a bit of a mindfuck at the moment, as they often find themselves being. Where you're just like you just look at the depth chart and you're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
For some reason, some position group, you're just like, what is happening? Hunter Renfro, wide receiver one, like what? Like Marshawn Lynch,
Yep.
Kenyon Drake, Peyton Barber, like whatever. Now you Josh Jacobs. Who knows if he's going to play? Uh, Hunter Renfro, is he going to remember how to play football?
Who knows?
You get Jacoby Myers, which again, big Jacoby Myers fan. Not an elite wide receiver by any means, but a
He's
good wide receiver. Just a
and
good fucking wide receiver. He knows how to play ball. He can have 1,000 yard seasons if you feed him.
well, and he played with, you know, with McDaniel, right? So
Yeah,
that's good. They've got that connection.
absolutely.
It's so did Jimmy G, their new quarterback.
Hell yeah.
Um, if Josh Jacobs doesn't play, I think it's going to be catastrophic.
Oh, 100%. They need him.
They
Um,
need him.
I watched Zamir White in the preseason. It's he's a perfectly fine back, but the gap between him and Josh Jacobs is too big
Yep.
to rely on that reliably game to game. Nobody's going to be stacking the boxes for Zamir White. So, yeah. But they still have maybe the best wide receiver in the NFL.
Yep. They. I think so.
Yeah. And no reason to say otherwise at the moment.
Nope.
And that's coming from a Vikings fan. So that means it's I think I have the utmost respect for Devontae Adams and his abilities. And but the big talk from camp is, can Jimmy G throw that deep ball? Which he wasn't, he struggled with in the past.
And he
Now
needs to be throwing those to Mr.
he's
Devontae.
he does. He'll be open. So he's got to throw him. Now the nice thing is, when Devontae's open, he's often wide ass fucking open.
Yep.
So there might be a decent margin for error here. But I mean, Jimmy G's had a lot of injuries, but usually when he plays, he's pretty decent and he wins games.
Yep.
And that's what everybody talks about with Jimmy G, and that's what I love to talk about with Jimmy G, which is that bastard wins football games except the Super Bowl.
Yep. Not that one.
Not that one. That one. Anyway, uh, Jimmy G. I think people are lower on the Raiders than I think they need to be. Is kind of how I feel, because I think that the Raiders could be really fucking bad. Um, their floor is very low, but Jimmy G can win some fucking football games. He knows how to do it, and teams like him, players like him, coaches like him. He knows McDaniel, which means that McDaniel isn't like at a loss for what to do with his skill set.
Yep.
Like it's not like if Cliff Kingsbury was fucking handed Jimmy G and was like, "What the fuck do I do with this?"
Yep.
Like there are more things going for the Raiders, I think, than people are maybe talking about. The defense could be better.
Yep.
They've added some pieces. Again, they've added Jacoby Myers. They did lose Darren Waller,
Yeah.
but he hasn't been healthy.
No.
So, it's tough, but obviously the big loss is Derek Carr.
Yep.
which I do think that Jimmy G is a downgrade from Derek Carr. I will say that, generally speaking. But as we've seen, in the right system, Jimmy G can make it work.
Yeah.
And he's got some great route runners on his team. Like all three of those guys, Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, and Hunter Renfro are really good route runners who can
Yes.
get open
Well,
all
and
over the field.
they also did draft, Michael Mayer, who is
That's right.
another really intriguing prospect. He's massive. He's huge.
Boy at Notre Dame.
He could be a really good tight end for them. I mean, even if he's just good at blocking his first year, it's like that could be enough. They've got people to catch the ball.
I mean, I
But
think people downplayed. Like, of course, Dalton Kincaid was like, we'll talk about him. Like a ridiculous receiver as a tight end. Like Michael Mayer as an all around complete tight end was a borderline generational prospect that I
yeah,
don't think people talk about. Not as the same athletic freak that like Kyle Pitts is, as far as measurables go, but like when you look at like big boy tight ends who can block and who can receive and box out defenders, like there's a lot to be excited about with Michael Mayer as being on that team for a long time. So yeah, yeah, I don't know. Max Crosby, good fucking football player. I don't think people talk about Max Crosby enough.
yeah, they don't.
Sometimes
He is a good player,
he's
no
a
doubt
good
about
player.
that.
Going to be important for them to win games. Yeah, I don't know. It's they need Josh Jacobs though. Got to figure that shit out.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do, because it's gonna be grim without
Got to
him.
feed that bastard when he gets on the field. Got to get him on the field. All right, Chargers.
Very interesting,
Very interesting.
because the thing is, I think they're another one of those teams that's pretty much upgraded, like almost across the board. I mean,
Yep,
another year under his belt for Justin Herbert, who's already been a good quarterback. I mean, since he came in the league,
been very good. Very good.
Keenan Allen's
Borderline elite.
yes, Keenan Allen's a great receiver. Mike Williams is a great receiver. They drafted Quentin Johnson, who I think is going to be great
Yep.
for them.
Yep.
Um, I mean, Eckler's been a good back.
Got that quarterback.
Healthy.
Yep.
They have Kellen Moore, who departed
Yeah.
Dallas because yeah, I don't know, things weren't working like they should have been in Dallas, and that's
Wanted
the
to light up
truth.
a scoreboard.
Yep. Yeah. Uh, I think he's going to be, a good fit for them. Uh, it makes me worry about Eckler a little bit, being a Cowboys fan,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
personally, because Lord have mercy, does Kellen Moore like to throw the ball, even when he
Yeah.
has really, really, really talented running backs. Anyway,
True.
um,
Eckler do be catching those balls though quite a bit.
yes, which that could work out really well for them. Who knows? The thing is, there's no reason that the Chargers, with their roster and their talent, shouldn't go far into the playoffs, even in this
Correct.
division.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
history
Hmm.
does not look
Poor,
for them
poor Chargers history. Why do you got to bring up Chargers history?
because it's real, and
Hmm.
there's just no way to not bring it up, because if
Yeah.
you look at these Chargers rosters, not just over, the Herbert years, but over the Rivers years and all that stuff, right?
Oh, that's
They should have won a lot more playoff games than they did.
Philip Rivers no Super Bowl is a tragedy.
It is.
It's a tragedy. And yeah, I mean, I've shared this take with you before. But Justin Herbert just inked that big deal,
Yep.
highest paid quarterback in the NFL, right? Per
Yep.
year. Yep. Um, barely has better than a 50% win percentage
Yep.
in his career. Has lost a playoff game, a wild card playoff game, in incredibly embarrassing fashion
Yes.
on national television.
Horrific.
Again, it very much reminds me of Kyler Murray when he played the Rams, and like yeah, the Rams won the Super Bowl that year, but sorry, like that's he He got paid after that. In the same way, he got paid after an embarrassing Super Bowl. Sorry, not Super Bowl playoff loss in the wild card round. You get your guys there, and then you blow it. And if you're getting that kind of money, you're getting paid more than Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
You better fucking beat Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, I fucking said it. The Chargers should, and I know that they are, but the Chargers should be thinking we need this division needs to be ours. Like
Absolutely.
it can't just be a wild card spot, second fiddle. Like you guys got to be thinking, if we don't win the division, it's a failure. We failed. We have to, and of course, if you don't win the division, you get into the wild card round, you win playoff games. Nobody's going to give a fuck how you got there. But as far as while we're watching the regular season before the postseason fully shakes out, I expect the Chargers to be battling with the Chiefs for the division.
Yep.
Last year there were a lot of injuries. Again, it's never an excuse, but it is an explanation that's a valid one. Like it's that can excuse away like some skill deficiency, like some win deficiencies, because you have the less talent on your team. You know what can you do? Obviously, you want depth, but you lose starters, you lose starters. But that, like you said, the team's better. It's a better team. And last year we were talking about it like this way. We were talking about the Chargers last year after they got Khalil Mack.
Yep. People thought they were going to the Super Bowl. I mean, everybody thought it was going to be like the Chargers, the Broncos, and the Chiefs at the top, and they were only right about one of those teams.
I mean, fuck, the Raiders made it to the playoffs that previous year. Even the Raiders were in the conversation of like, hey, don't forget about Derek Carr and the boys.
Yep.
And now it feels like there's a bit more of a divide between the top two and the bottom two. But again, it would be nice to see it happen. And we have seen it happen game to game. We're like, wow, Justin Herbert's really fucking good. Like, really good.
Yep.
And wow, Keenan Allen is really good. And Mike Williams is really good. And wow, Austin Eckler, he's really good. And I mean, avoiding any Gerald Everett erasure here, Gerald Everett's a pretty damn good tight end.
Yep.
Honestly. And I think people were starting to catch on to that down the stretch of last season. That they actually do. I like to involve him a bit. We'll see how that plays out with Quentin Johnston and whatnot, but they've got a lot of weapons, a lot of offense, a lot of defense, better coordinator.
Yep.
I mean, this is Staley's year, right?
You'd have to think.
Like, this is the make or break, right?
I mean, it's got to be, because, I mean, I really think that he's the problem, and I think most people think he's the problem.
If the offense plays really well, but they fall short of their goals, I would imagine Staley gets fired and Moore is the head coach now, right?
Yep. It's got to be. That's got to be what they were thinking when they hired him.
Yeah, I feel like that's got to be the. And I imagine that was probably very clear to Staley. Like, okay, they just hired my. kind of with Washington, like, okay, did they just hire Bieniemy as my successor?
Yep.
Right, you know, so. A lot of pressure on the Chargers. That's just what comes with the territory. A lot of pressure on Justin Herbert.
Yep. Yeah, they should be winning a lot of games and scoring 40 points in each win.
Yep.
I mean, and that might sound ridiculous, but if they're not doing that, I think it's going to be a disappointment.
Yes.
And the thing is, I guess, I don't know how much more you have to say about the Chargers, but
no.
It's going to segue into the only team we haven't talked about in this division, which is the Chiefs. And the simple fact is, I just don't think they're going to be better than them, no matter what. I just don't think it's going to happen.
No.
I don't see it happening. I don't think there's any way. It's unfortunate for them, I guess.
Unlikely.
But unless something crazy happens in Kansas City, I just don't think it's going to happen.
The way I feel is if the Chargers offense plays to their ceiling, they could be as good of an offense as the Chiefs ever were. That's how I feel.
Yep.
Like prime Tyreek, Kelsey, the whole gang. Like they could feel unstoppable. Like I think that is within their range of outcomes, and that's why the pressure is there, because that's the expectation. But like you're saying, like, if we're being realistic, it seems like there's no reason to think that Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce won't just fucking bulldoze their way to that division again.
Well, and I mean, you know, they won the whole thing last year. Obviously, they have that
They
going
sure
for
did.
'em. And
Takes a bit of pressure off when you won Super Bowls. I hear. You can not that they're taking the year off, but
yeah,
it's nice. I would imagine.
but the other thing is, last year Tyreek Hill leaves, right? That's a question mark, and question
That
marks
was
at running
crazy.
back, and
Yeah,
all this, right? And Patrick Mahomes goes and has his best year with his worst offensive ensemble that he's probably had in his time there.
yeah, because Patrick Mahomes is undeniably the best quarterback in the NFL, bar none. End of sentence. There's no debate, and people try to create a debate, but there is
They're
none.
wasting their time.
I love Joe Burrow. I love Josh Allen to some extent. I Lamar Jackson. I was raving about him, and honestly, of those quarterbacks, I think Lamar is actually the one who's, in my opinion, as far as raw skill goes, I think is the closest to being able to potentially argue with him. But Mahomes got the Super Bowls. Mahomes, and not just the Super Bowls, he's got everything.
Yep.
And I mean, it's fucking. I mean, we're wasting our breath here talking about how good Patrick Mahomes is, but I think people in this AFC conversation are trying to talk up these other teams, and rightfully so. But when we talk about quarterback, there's the best, and then there's everybody else,
Yep. That's
and
it.
that's the reality. And so, betting against Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs in any way, shape, or form is a lesson in futility, usually. So, I mean, as far as things to talk about, I mean, Kadarius Toney, if he's healthy, could be fun to see what Andy Reid does with him. Um, Otherwise, that receiving room, what they got MVS still,
Yeah. MVS.
Sky Moore,
Sky Moore. That's right.
and
Uh,
then
Ross.
I'm hoping Justin Ross ends up being something. It would be kind of exciting because just of his college career, and it's always fun when you get a player who can actually like get a real chance coming back out of an injury.
Yep.
It seems like he based off the talent he had in college. It seems like he deserves a real chance to. I mean, not that I don't know how much deserve is the right word, but it'd be nice to see him get a real chance to perform with Patrick Mahomes
Yep.
because he does have that more kind of prototypical size that a lot of the players on that team don't have. So we'll see. But in the end, it doesn't seem like they really need anybody except for maybe Travis Kelsey.
Yep. And they've still got him.
Still got him, and I don't, and no reason to think that Travis Kelsey will be any worse than he's ever been. So
Yep.
what's there even really to talk about? The first Chiefs are going to the playoffs and probably deep into the playoffs.
Yes.
So I don't really feel like even the need to talk about them. They get all the fanfare that they need. They just won the Super Bowl.
Yep.
So
And
man,
be good again.
they're going to be good again. So that leaves us with the last division, which is maybe the hardest division. It was the hardest division for me to suss out,
Yep.
and I guess this is. Oh, and I guess I should say I have the AFC West going Chiefs, Chargers, Raiders, Broncos.
Yeah. We've had them all going the same, but
Broncos, Raiders. I think I could see it flip flopping, but
yes,
I think the Raiders have a safer floor than
I
the
agree.
Broncos do at the moment. So yeah. Anyway, AFC East. This is the team where I actually have. Actually, I chose who I thought was actually going to get a wild card spot or who was going to make the playoffs, and I have three teams in this division making the playoffs.
Yep.
Um, I only have one team in the AFC North, one team in the AFC South, and two teams in the AFC West. Is the way I have it worked out.
Yep.
Um, it was hard, only picking one team from the AFC North, but I decided I thought the AFC East teams are better.
I agree.
Now that doesn't necessarily mean that they'll have a better record, I suppose, but man, I just when it comes down to pure like power rankings, I there's a lot of really fucking good teams in this division, theoretically.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I feel like maybe we should start with the one that is maybe the worst of them, which is the Patriots. I'm
Yeah,
assuming you agree with me.
Yeah, oh yeah, they're the team
Um,
that I unfortunately do not have going to the playoffs, which feels bad to bet against them. Even it just feels bad to bet against Bill, but
yep.
it's what it
Which
is.
is funny because I think they're a team that has improved in lots of ways too. They're coached by Bill Belichick. I mean, they're probably going to go positive.
They got Bill O'Brien instead of Matt Patricia
Yeah, that's
calling the offense.
that's
Um, that's I think probably a lot of people consider a pretty major improvement.
yep.
Because I think a lot of people look at the Mac Jones season last year and look at it as a bit of a fluke, which I think the more I've thought about it is maybe fair to have a second year quarterback be with. Do you have to deal with that play calling and that coaching? But I also think Mac Jones still has pressure on him to obviously to perform well
Yep.
this year and compete.
Especially because he's got that dog Malik coming
coming, coming,
coming.
coming in.
Anyway,
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, I guess I wasn't that far off. If anybody watched
No,
the preseason,
no.
I'm just
I
gonna.
was watching that shit. That shit, he was lighting up the scoreboard. He's lighting up the field. He's running around.
Um, but I mean,
But
they went and got. Oh boy,
talk about Devontae Parker.
no, not Devontae Parker. The
Mike Gesicki.
no. Oh my God, Jacoby Myers was pissed about it.
Oh, Juju.
Yeah, they went and got Juju.
Oh yeah, I forgot about
They went
Juju
and got
until you said it. Until you said Jacoby Myers deal, I was like, huh? Oh, that's right. They fucking signed Juju to that exact same deal that they signed Jacoby Myers to.
Yeah, they did. They did.
Which
Interesting.
I like Jacoby Myers more than Juju Smith-Schuster. You're asking me personally. Lately, I mean, I would rather have Jacoby Myers, but
I
whatever.
probably agree with you, but that's not what New England thought.
Nope, they got Juju, who's become a bit of a mercenary for hire to, catch for whatever 600 yards. I don't know whatever he got with the Chiefs last year. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, you get Juju, Devontae, Parker,
I mean, Ramondre Stevens,
Bourne.
looked good. He's gonna probably be better. They've just signed Ezekiel Elliott, who will probably be decent for them.
I mean, yeah. I mean, we'll see. Zeke, he said looks like he trimmed down a bit, got a little sleeker, a
Yeah,
little
so
faster, maybe.
single year of Zeke's career.
Best shape of his life.
Um,
I think Zeke is a good. I was happy when I heard Zeke went to the Patriots. I think that's a good spot for him, and I'm excited to see what the Patriots do with him because he's a pretty different back than Ramondre is, and
yeah,
obviously has a lot more experience and is a good teammate, good locker room guy, good great blocker. So
great blocker. That's what
good goal line.
it is. That he's a really good blocker, which is
Yeah.
gonna help with Mac a lot.
Mhm. Mhm.
Good defense. It's always gonna be a good defense there.
Defense was very good last year. I think that's the thing that I think got lost in the shuffle of the record and the offense was that their defense was legitimately very good last year,
Yeah.
which is not surprising. And you say, "Oh, the Patriots' defense was good last year." No shit, but they were. It was a good defense, and I think they'll probably be just as good, if not better, this coming year. And
Christian Gonzalez, right?
yep, Christian Gonzalez was the big, which he fell to them. That is just that he fell and he dropped, and that's classic Patriots draft strategy. Same thing happened with Mac Jones potentially. I mean, in light of Trey Lance,
Yep.
definitely. So yeah, it's the Patriots. There is a path for them because they're the Patriots, and they do have a roster that could be competitive if everything goes absolutely as smoothly as possible for them, and maybe as bad as possibly for some of these other teams.
Yeah.
Um,
It's just unfortunate, I guess, for them that they're sandwiched in the best division in football. It seems like.
yes, definitely.
Maybe it's not
Yeah,
unfortunate. I don't really care. They could
I
never
mean,
win another ring for the rest of the time, and I'd be okay with it. Sorry, Patriots fans.
sorry,
Enough of it.
y'all had your time, and you have a lot to look back on and be happy. In fact, probably enough to be happy about for the rest of the franchise's existence.
Yeah.
So nobody feels bad for you, if you can believe it.
Yep.
So after the Patriots, there are three teams, all of which I think will make the playoffs, or very easily could.
Yep.
And I think three teams that all of which could win the division.
Yep.
And all of which I think that could have teams that could have top five offenses in the NFL.
Yep.
And maybe a few of them definitely should.
Yes. Absolutely.
There was a point where I was starting to try and fade the Bills to make it easier on myself, and then I realized I couldn't fucking do that in good conscience because that team is too good.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
I
just
mean,
fucking talking about the Bills. They're not. Yeah. The Bills seem like a team where it's like, okay, maybe if everything that could go wrong does go wrong, which is almost what happened to them last year, which is where they started losing a lot of pieces on defense,
yep.
and Josh Allen was playing some wacky ball,
Throwing a lot of picks.
throwing a lot of picks, making a lot of goofy ass decisions.
Yep.
You lose Dayball, it's important, you know.
Yep.
So that definitely showed. What's his fuck left? Remember what their guy who just like walked away? What's that guy's name?
Oh.
Frazier? No, that's the coach. No, it's not. What am I thinking of? Was it their DC that just like stepped
It
down?
might have been their DC. I don't remember
Um,
off the top of my head.
I don't either, unfortunately. But I don't know. There's some things went wrong last year, but they still managed to be very good.
It was
Which,
it it was Leslie Frazier.
thank God. Oh my
And
God.
yeah, the DC. He just said he's
I'm
taking
out.
a year off for undisclosed reasons, but
Yeah,
plans
and
to
it was
return in
it.
2024. However, per Ian Rappaport, it is not clear that he'll be back in 2024.
Yeah, yeah. So
Interesting.
yeah, some questions there. But again, it seemed like they managed to mostly overcome most of that adversity last year, and made it into the playoffs. Not as deep as they would have liked, and that's the thing is that there's the Bills are one of those teams that have like the Chargers who have a lot of pressure to actually get there.
Yep.
And the Bills, they've played in AFC Championship games. They've played very well in those games,
Yeah.
and
I I don't know if very well is the word for it, but
yeah, some of those
well,
games.
yeah. I mean, they haven't won, you know,
No,
so that really hurts.
it does. That makes it a little bit harder on them overall. And so, yeah, it would be nice for them to actually be able to make it to the big one because that's where they're at. They need
Yep.
to be able to do that, and I'm sure that's the goal for them every year
Yep.
is to make it to Super Bowl and win it. And they have the roster to do it.
Yep.
They just got to go out there and do it. That's
They
really all
they
there
had
is
the
to it.
roster to do it last year as well, and maybe the
Yep.
year before that.
Yeah, maybe.
You know, mm.
Ever since they got Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen played good ball, and
And Stephon Diggs is still an elite receiver, top
very much
five in
so.
the NFL, maybe
So
higher than
yes,
that. I mean, he's a beast.
maybe. Yeah, in some facets, I would say definitely. And Josh Allen also very, very, very good
Yep.
quarterback.
And we touched on Kincaid briefly earlier, but he's like one of these rookie tight ends that could go in and just immediately produce, which doesn't happen often. But if anyone's gonna do it, it really might be him,
It's like it.
especially because it seems like they really like him in the passing game. They've still got
Yes.
Knox there. Um,
I mean, they fucking drafted him to be a receiver. Let's just be real. Like that's what they did. They drafted him as the fifth receiver off the board. If you don't count Jameer Gibbs,
yeah, which
and so
maybe he does count, but anyway.
yeah, yeah. So it's the offense should be better. Gabe Davis needs to figure what the fuck he wants his career to be. Uh,
Yeah,
but Dawson Knox, I guess it's still there.
underrated tight end, I think.
Yep, he's pretty good. And James Cook,
Gonna be
Damian
better.
Harris. Damian Harris, I think people are maybe not talking about quite enough as far as just like James Cook is not going to be a 3 down back,
No.
4 down back bell cow. It's just not what he was drafted for, and that's fine. But you're going to want. It's good that they got Damian Harris to be that bruiser, again, that kind of goal line guy. And they wanted Zach Moss to be that, and
Yeah, unfortunate.
yeah, I'm sure if they could get back like Frank Gore from like 6, 7 years ago, they would take it.
Yeah,
Um,
very
yeah,
true.
Defense is great. Von Miller, hopefully healthy.
We'll see.
If he is, that's fucking scary.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
There's a lot to like, just like the last couple years. And I mean, you could look me, dead in my face and say you think that the Bills are going to win the Super Bowl, and
Hmm.
I think you've got some points.
There's a fair chance that does happen.
But
Um,
there's also a good chance that it doesn't, and that's how it's been
and-
for the last couple of years. So
yes.
we'll see.
Yeah, Bills just one of those teams that got better, should be better.
Yep.
Not much else to say about them.
Yep.
All right.
I don't even know who of these next two to talk about next because they're both very interesting.
Let's talk about the Hard Knocks stars themselves.
Okay. The If the Jets don't win the Super Bowl, then it is an absolute embarrassment. I'm going to say that right here, right now. You don't go out there and trade away everything you've got to get old man Aaron Rodgers. You don't go out there and sign Dalvin Cook to, I mean, I guess not a ton of money, but more money than a lot of these other backs are getting
Yeah.
right now, which
Yeah.
he deserved, I would say, out of all of them,
It's the most any of these free agent RBs will get. And yeah, I would say he deserves it.
Yep. Garrett Wilson, offensive rookie of the year going into year two. Sauce Gardner, defensive rookie of the year going into year two. And Sauce Gardner comes onto the scene and is immediately the best corner in the league. That's pretty impressive.
I mean, of course, Brees Hall was presumed to be the offensive rookie of the year.
Yep.
If he had stayed healthy. So you have potentially the two best offensive rookies last year. And yeah, you add Aaron Rodgers to that.
Yep. Who seems like we haven't seen any games, but maybe he's got his mojo back. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know. He didn't want to be in Green Bay for a long time, it seemed like, but he
I'm
wasn't
not
great last
ready.
year.
I'm not ready. I obviously I was screaming, washed at the screen, watching Aaron Rodgers last year. Although every opportunity I had, of course. But do I actually believe that Aaron Rodgers is washed? No.
Nope.
I think he's still pretty fucking good and is a game changer. And I do genuinely believe it is quite literally physically impossible for Aaron Rodgers to be anywhere close to as bad as Russell Wilson was last year.
Yep.
Like it's not even within. It is not a possibility in any universe, multiverse reality.
Especially, I
So
mean, he's got his guy Hackett. That's his guy.
yeah,
They've very clearly like made him feel comfortable and gotten him a lot of what he's wanted. Randall Cobb's
yes.
there, Alan Lazard's there.
Salah seems like a good coach to me. For just
Yep.
watching him in Hard Knocks, I assumed he was going to be good when they hired him post Gase from
Yeah.
the 49ers. Like I just like seemed like a good hire and a good culture maker and yeah, defensive minded coach. And obviously they have a lot of pieces on defense. So I did want to go back to what you said earlier, where I don't know if I agree that the Super Bowl it has to be this year. I think it needs to be in the next 2 years,
Yeah, I guess
which
you're
is
right.
I think. But what I will say, I think it's a lose lose or not lose lose. There's no way that the Jets don't get to the Super Bowl and people won't point at them and say that they failed.
Yep.
Because if Aaron Rodgers makes it to the AFC Championship game and loses, what is everybody gonna fucking say? Oh, no way. Aaron Rodgers lost in the conference championship game again?
Yep.
And he's going to have to deal with that all offseason. And, but for like objectively speaking, I would say if the Jets won multiple playoff games, that would be a success this year, assuming that they're able to maintain the roster to compete for a Super Bowl the next year. But that's if.
Well, and didn't they sign Delvin to a 1-year deal?
They sure
That's
did.
the other thing here is like, yeah, you got Rodgers for 2, maybe more. Who knows? But I mean, they signed Dalvin with. There's no way you don't sign a guy like that to a 1-year deal without the thought that this is the year that we need to win. I mean,
I
obviously
believe,
they want to
yeah.
win this year. Obviously they want to win next year. Every team wants to win. That's the goal. But
It's hard to win a Super Bowl. That's my only. It is not easy to just step in and do it. Now, obviously, Tom's done it. Matthew's done it. Great. But for me trying to be realistic for the Jets, which I know is just not the most popular thing to do among sports media today. But to be realistic, I would say like yes, I think of course the goal for them is Super Bowl. I don't think Rodgers would play another snap in the NFL if he didn't think that he could win a Super Bowl any of the next few years.
Yep.
But it's hard to win a Super Bowl, and that might not happen right away. And honestly, frankly, I'll say it: I don't think the fucking Jets needed Dalvin.
No, no, I don't think
They
so
did
either.
not. I think it was but all of these Super Bowl teams, all these teams that just do these like 1-2 year like pushes to win, they always be just signing these veterans just for the luxury of doing so. They
Yeah.
just do it, and it seems to work, and it seems to be nice to have the depth and the added firepower. So I
Develop
don't.
young Brees Hall and young Michael Carter and
Hmm,
all those guys maybe. So
yeah,
I don't know.
but Jets should be pretty good. They should be in the Super Bowl winning conversation. They
Yep.
should be competing for the number one seed in the AFC.
Yes.
They should be competing for the division. All of that. That is all things that they should be doing. Of course, the offensive line is the talk of the town at the time of recording this. Uh, Salah ripped them on Hard Knocks,
Yep.
which I mean, yeah, whatever. I don't care. But if they were bad, they were bad. Be better. You're protecting Aaron Rodgers. You're gonna have to. I mean, he
Yep.
can get the ball out, but come on,
For real.
like do your job. Uh, yeah, I think the Jets are gonna be pretty fucking good.
I do too.
Uh,
I do too. Whether I want them to be or not.
Yeah, and I don't have to play Aaron Rodgers. Don't have to deal with Aaron Rodgers this year. We talked about it in the NFC podcast. That I don't. My team doesn't play Aaron Rodgers. Your team,
Yeah, week 2.
different. Okay, I mean we have to play the Eagles week 2, so I'm kind of bummed about that. So week 2 will be tough for both of us,
Yeah.
potentially. Maybe not.
I hope it
Uh,
isn't.
yeah, be sweet if it wasn't. That leaves the last team, and to me personally, I think this team has the highest ceiling of any of them, and I think they might have the highest ceiling of any team. Mm, no, I'll retract that. When Jalen Ramsey is healthy,
Yeah.
they have the highest ceiling. Unfortunately, I can no longer say that I think the Dolphins have the highest ceiling, but I do think that they have the possibility, and at least offensively, golly,
Yeah. There's a lot to like. Tua's not gonna be all fucked up this year. Hopefully, he's
yeah.
had a lot of time to heal and get his mind right and get all that shit going. And he was a beast last year when he played. He's got, I mean, 2 of the best receivers in the league.
Yeah, it's a top three wide receiver duo in the NFL.
Yeah. I mean, there's just so much to like.
Yeah,
It's gonna suck for them if they're not good. That much is true.
yep. And I think if they, assuming the health of the team remains stable, I would imagine that I there probably aren't many offenses in the NFL that will be able to compete with them, and many defenses that will be able to slow them down.
Yep.
And that wins you football games, and that's what this is about.
Yes.
We talk about how good the Jets are going to be. Talk about how great the Bills are. When it comes to seeing the things that allow you to score points to win football games, I think the Dolphins just have it the most. Now the defense is a different question. Now, however, before they signed Jalen Ramsey and they just added Vic Fangio, I was already like, oh, this defense is going to be very good.
Yep.
It's going to be better than it was last year, which it played worse than its talent last year. And I don't think that's going to happen in Vic Fangio's system. So, yeah, like you said,
Yeah.
Tua, when he was healthy, was playing as honestly straight up as good as any quarterback in the NFL. And Tyreek wants 2,000 yards, and if miraculously Raheem Mostert can stay healthy and Jeff Wilson can stay healthy, and they can find ways to get A-Chain involved, that's a ridiculous backfield of speed
It sure is.
and a wide receiver group of speed. Of course, that's all anybody ever talks about with the Dolphins is the speed, and then you have Tua, who has the ability to get the ball to his playmakers in the ways that they need to,
Yep.
and that is how an NFL offense does NFL offense things. That's the TED Talk.
I will
Is
say,
just
I will add another wrinkle to the fold here. Jalen Ramsey's out until December, and some news came out today about Xavier Howard. Uh, that's
that's
not
right.
very good for him, depending on how it goes. I mean, it could be nothing, but
Yeah,
it sounds not great.
true.
We don't know if that means he'll miss time. We don't know if it means anything, but if he does miss some time, I mean there's cornerback 1 and cornerback 2
Yeah,
gone. Who knows
that
how
would be
long?
bad. That would be bad.
That would not be good. I mean,
That would
it
be.
really, really could hurt them.
It could definitely be bad.
But he's as of now, he's gonna be playing. So
But yes,
and
and
they keep,
it's it. Yeah.
if they keep their head above water until Ramsey gets back. I mean, he gets back, and that defense is just gonna be even better.
Yes, and in that scene from the first episode of Just Hard Knocks, where they were looking in the film room and watching Aaron Rodgers and being like, "This is perfect coverage. Only one person in the history of the universe could make this throw, and he's on our team. Don't have to play against him." And the whole defense is like, "Yeah, fuck yeah."
Yep.
I mean, that's how the defense, Vic Fangio's defense, has to be looking at the Dolphins' offense.
Yep.
Like, okay, at least we have the guys that like know every DB room's worst nightmare that are completely unguardable and uncoverable. At least we don't have to play against them. Which,
Yep.
of course, a lot of other great wide receivers in the NFL, but we're talking about like the most unguardable wide receiver room. It's those guys. So,
Yes, it is.
and I mean, also like it was McDaniel's first year last year.
Yeah.
This is his first year, so
Came in and
that makes a difference. It
they
makes a
almost
difference,
playoff game with Skylar Thompson.
man. I mean, that's the thing is like if Tua was healthy last year, the Dolphins could have easily made a playoff run,
Yeah.
easily.
Almost did without him.
So it's and again, I don't know. It's like Fangio is about as good as a lot of these bastards get, apart from like Belichick. So yeah, I again, it's like it relieves a lot of anxiety for me, even in the case of big injuries. Like, okay, scheme can make up for a lot, not for everything, but it can make up for a lot.
Yep.
Um, Especially when you don't have to go against the two fastest wide receivers in the NFL.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's interesting, and ranking this AFC East division is hard because all of these teams have really good defenses and most of them have pretty high powered offenses. So, and presumably good coaching, great coaching.
Yep. That's what it seems like.
The order that I have the AFC East in is Dolphins, Bills, Jets, Patriots.
Interesting.
That's
I
how it landed for me.
I have, and I might eat my words, and I kind of hope I do, but I have it going Jets, Dolphins, Bills, Patriots. I just
I understand.
and it could be swapped with the Dolphins. It could come down to week 18 or whatever. They could be playing for it. It could be that type of a deal, but
Yeah,
I do think I like solidly have the Bills in third, which feels very wild.
I did, and then I just again I couldn't. I just couldn't get myself there, but I get it. I think that's interesting. Also, the kind of the difference between you and I with where we like kind of project the ideal goal or like how far we think is a success for the Jets, and then where we put them in the division.
Yep.
Because I think I'm just giving the Jets more leeway as far as this first year having some hiccups with all of the new shit. and then things being full go next year,
Yeah,
like the following year. Which is why I'm like, okay, if I'm going to put one of these teams in third, I'm just going to put the Jets there and say there's going to be hiccups in the first year.
that's
Uh,
fair. But it's like if you had, any quarterback who was competent back there
hmm.
last year, they might have won the whole thing, is the other thing. And now you don't just go to
Yeah,
competent, you go to one of the best quarterbacks of all time.
very true. And that's a very very fair point. And so I can see the Jets winning the division absolutely. Um, there was a point where I was trying to see if I could convince myself to say that the Jets don't make the playoffs this year. I don't see that happening. The same way I don't see that happening to the Bills,
Yep.
and the way I only see that happening to the Dolphins if the wheels completely fall off, like they kind of did last year, where you lose your I don't know whatever third, fourth most important player, which is the quarterback. Which I know people are gonna, which maybe that's not fair, but it's hard for me to say that Tua is more important than like Tyreek and some other players. But
Yeah.
he's up there. He's a very important player, and obviously we saw that last year that his abilities, his skills, his arm talent is and his accuracy is what has allowed that offense to run, and it has run for somebody like Tua. You put somebody else in there, it's not going to work as well. So yeah, only way Dolphins I feel like don't make it is if shit just hits the fan,
Yep.
injury wise or otherwise. Which of course I hope doesn't happen. So and then there's the fucking Patriots, which is like, sorry guys, not this year.
Yep. Literally.
Not last year. Not this year.
Nope.
Need to see it to believe it.
Exactly. That's all 32 teams.
That's
Now
32 full teams.
I'm gonna throw this one right at you right here. Maybe you were thinking about it, but I think we have to do this before we wrap up, which is
Mm.
we need to predict the Super Bowl teams.
Oh.
We've had all this talk.
Oh.
We
God.
gotta. I think we gotta do it.
Mm.
And I'm gonna come out. I'm gonna
This
say it
is
right
this
here.
is
I'm
this
just
is where we put our money. This is where we would put our money.
This is where I'm putting the money, and I feel a little more confident in one of these things than the other. And that I think the AFC winner is going to be the Chiefs. That's what I think. And I feel
Yep.
pretty confident in it despite all the competition in the AFC. That's how I feel.
Mhm.
And I think it's going to be the 49ers.
I thought you were gonna say the Cowboys. I really did. I thought, and I wasn't gonna begrudge you for doing it, but
I hope
yeah.
it could be.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I'm not going to
49ers,
until
baby.
we're there. So,
Big cock Brock. I don't know, man. He's thrown a lot of interceptions in training camp, which is something
yeah.
that I care a lot about and take into account when I project my quarterback success.
Yeah, and yeah. I I mean, I was thinking about saying it, for the meme and because I really do think it could happen, but it's pretty
Yeah.
hard to bet against those guys. If Brock Purdy's even serviceable, that's all they need.
Yeah. It's just one of the most loaded rosters. The past few years, the 49ers have just had one of the most ridiculous rosters we've ever seen,
Exactly.
defensively and offensively. And yeah, it's absurd. Uh, yeah. I actually haven't thought about this at all, so this is kind of tough for me.
I hadn't until
Believe it or
I brought it up
not.
either.
Oh, I think it's between. I've narrowed it down between three teams on the AFC side, and then on the NFC side, I think. Man, it's down to two teams for me on the NFC side. It's between where I put my where I would
Have a
put my
championship game or something.
where would I put my money? Andrew, I'm going to do it, and so we're going to be we're going to have some mutual investment here. I'm going to say the Cowboys.
Wow.
If you're asking me where I'd put my money, I think the Cowboys should be in the Super Bowl. And I've said that I've said that a few years.
Me too.
And so yeah, that's something we've agreed on for a few years now is that the Cowboys should be in the Super Bowl. Not a Cowboys fan, but
I
just
said that we were gonna go last year.
and you definitely could have.
Maybe
and and maybe should have. And I know I'm doing this, and I think a lot of people are embarrassed. And I will say this is my opinion, and it's a hard opinion to take, obviously for obvious reasons. But I think there's a lot of people that are with me with this general feeling, which is that this is the make or break year for the Cowboys, where it's like get over the fucking hump or just I don't know.
Yep.
Like, when we said this in the NFC pod, we mean it. Like, this is the year.
Because
Figure it out.
if we don't go past the divisional round, then Mike McCarthy needs. I
Oh,
almost said something that's going to get me in trouble, but he needs to not be the coach of the Dallas Cowboys anymore.
to
Even
say the
if we
least.
win 13 games and
Yeah,
all these positive things that I said about him in the last video, which I think there are positives. I mean, and you got to think with the Kellen Moore move, right? That
yeah,
obviously whoever Dallas is thinking maybe would come after him, it's not Kellen, which that says a lot to me. It's the guy that's running the defense that I think would be the one to take over the
yeah.
team.
Oh,
And I think it's who it should be,
1000%.
but and I think
Yeah,
that's what should happen if we don't go really far this year.
yes. So I'm gonna say the Cowboys. When you said Niners, I was very tempted. That was the other team. Where I was like, okay, like yes, I mean I'm like a half Niners fan is what I call myself. Like I like the Niners a lot, and I usually root for them on some level. But I love Brock Purdy, and I love and like we've said all the nice things about the 49ers already. But again, I'm gonna bet on the Cowboys. I just think they got that edge. They've got just an absolute crater of a chip on their shoulder, and they
Man,
need
and they
to.
know it. If
They need,
anybody's been paying attention to Cowboys camp, man, they know it this year. I mean, it's
yes,
been you just see
that's
it
another piece of it.
everywhere.
It just seems like finally the Cowboys, and this it'll be interesting again with Mike because sometimes this translates into penalties, but it seems like we're getting maybe a more physical, gritty Cowboys team that can really hopefully pull their shit together in big moments, and yeah, that's what I'm betting on. In the AFC, very tempted to say the Dolphins, very tempted to say the Dolphins, very tempted to say the Chiefs,
Hmm.
but I'm not going to say either of those teams. I'm going to say it's going to be the Cowboys and it's going to be the Ravens
Interesting.
because I can't bet I like we talked about at the start of that podcast. I can't talk myself out of the Ravens. Talk myself out of the Dolphins. We did in some level, and you can't talk yourself out of the Chiefs really either. But Chiefs can't win every Super Bowl, right? Can't go to every one of them.
You're right.
And I don't blame you for picking them. Obviously, like it's the only reason I'm not. Is it's just like let's pick somebody else. And so I think the Ravens got everything they need. I think this is the year that Lamar says, "Fuck it, we ball," and we're gonna get 2019 unanimous MVP Lamar again. But also he's going to be throwing the ball in the air, which he can do
Yep.
to people who can catch it.
Yep. That'll help.
Uh,
I mean, it really could be Ravens, Chiefs, and Cowboys, Niners in these championship games this year.
yep.
I feel like Dallas is going to play San Francisco in the playoffs for the third year in a row. I'm pretty certain about that.
It
That's for sure.
feels destined.
Yes, it does. And I think Philly is going to be good. We talked about them. I think they're going to be good,
I'm not picking fucking
but
Philadelphia to the Super Bowl.
I'm not picking them to go again.
They can go fuck themselves.
I think they're going to lose the division to us.
Yes.
And I don't know. I don't think they're not going as far this year. It's that simple. I hope.
Yep. I say fuck the Eagles, and man, I hope I'm right.
Me too.
And yeah, I don't know.
But go Cowboys.
I've
We're
been
running the Super Bowl. I take it all.
yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, and I mean, of course, if I really was gonna bet my money, I'd say the Vikings, but because I'd make a lot of money if
Yeah,
I was right. uh, but Kirk's playing with everything to lose, so
yes, he is. So is Dak. It seems like that's what the media will tell you.
hmm
So
and I mean, of course, we can't count out Derek Carr and the Saints. So
yeah, yeah, something like that.
Saints Vikings wild card round.
It that would be crazy. It really could happen.
I mean, he would beat them, which like we usually do. Be bad if we lost to them. That would make me sad.
That'd
But
be unfortunate.
well, there you have it. That's the whole thing. I think we both agree the Cardinals are going to be the worst team in the NFL.
Yeah,
And I guess we think that the Texans are going to be the worst team in the AFC.
probably.
Texans or Colts or Broncos or Raiders. Probably, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
Probably. I don't know.
maybe none of them. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe it'll be. Maybe it'll be the Bears.
Could be.
Gasp.
Could be.
If one of these NFL defenses finally, if one of these defensive coordinators finally figures out how to defend a screen, it might be over for them.
Yeah, for real.
Somebody finally cracks the code
Oh,
on how you defend against a screen, man.
golly.
But until that point, the Bears are going to be cooking. You heard it here first.
Absolutely.
But yeah, this has been the Ubumfa podcast looking at the AFC, looked at the NFC. If you haven't watched the NFC video, I mean, we've already alluded to it many times. But yeah, check that out. And I mean, honestly, if you don't really feel like it, you don't even have to watch the season this year. We told you what's going to happen.
Yeah, for real. We're pretty spot
So
on. Cowboys are winning the Super Bowl. So
take it as gospel
Yep.
this time.
yeah, you know, because this time is going to be different.
There you have it. And I don't know. Maybe we'll talk about something football related at some point in the future. I don't.
We'll be watching.
Maybe
That much is true.
maybe when we'll be watching every single thing, but maybe when the playoffs come around, we can make some playoff predictions or
Yeah.
I don't know, whatever.
See how it goes.
Yeah, but that's it. That's the thing. So get the fuck out of here.
See ya. Bye bye.
Like.